Started. All right. Well, hello and welcome. It is officially June the 6th, 2023. And today's community call here at Potentials Realized is all about coaching business builder. So I want to welcome you. I'm Jennifer Britton, and I am the CEO and founder of Potentials Realized, also the author of Coaching Business Builder, which this year celebrates its 5th year in publication. So it's part workbook, part planner, annual, quarterly, and monthly planner. And it was designed 5 years ago based on requests from coaches. If you have not met me before, I've had the pleasure to support thousands of coaches in the last 20 years, not only in growing their businesses, but in growing their businesses specifically around group and team coaching. And so I don't just train coaches to be better group and team coaches. A big part of that is having a sustainable business. And so for many years, I've run a program. It originally started back in 2007 called the 90-Day Biz Success Program, where I would take coaches through a 3-month journey of really looking at building out their business foundations. As you can imagine, 3 months really is not enough. And so coaches would come back saying, I want to work now on this component or that component. And by 2018, all of those conversations had grown into this book. So there's 5 sections. We cover some of the business foundations that I'll touch on today. We get into the primer for those of you that are building a solopreneurial business. There's a section on marketing, and then there's a section on you as a solopreneur. So it is June, and every June I like to do a series dedicated to business development. And last year, 2022, I actually did a 5-day challenge for coaches. So in today's presentation, I have some QR codes. I hope you'll scan those. Those will take you to some other videos, other recordings that you can access, because coaching business development is not a one and done. It's something that we focus on all the time. So again, this is me calling in today from Toronto, Canada. Always good to connect. And one of the philosophies, I've worked with business owners of all kinds, not just coaches, but entrepreneurs from across the spectrum of tech startups to franchisors. Really, business development is all about taking daily steps and consistent action to create momentum. And that is what this workbook and this whole body of work is grounded in. So thank you for taking time today. I thought it would be interesting to flash back to last year's focus in the 5-day challenge. I was going to call it the 90-day challenge, but actually it was a 5-day challenge where I took the group through a series of processes. And today we're just going to dive into 2 areas, step 1 and step 2. But last summer, we looked in June at helping you reconnect with your vision. And as we step into mid-year, have you revisited your vision? I'll ask you that question in a moment. We're going to look at skills and mindset. And we also last summer looked at building out your toolkit, as well as building out your community and building out your productivity. So today I wanted to really just bring us back in to this fundamental question for all business owners today, which is, what's your vision? And most importantly, where are you now in comparison to where you want to be? We live in a world that is always changing. Certainly 2023 has created disruption in lots of different ways, whether it's economics, whether it's geopolitical events, etc. Some of you know that last December, I shared a TED Talk called Coaching Teams Through Chaos. And in that, I share a little bit about the work that I've done with many teams using a process called the Draw Your Future. And this is a graphic facilitation process which takes an individual, a group, or a team to look from where they might be right now to where you want to be. Whether we have 5 minutes or 5 hours, as entrepreneurs, it can be really valuable to reconnect with what our vision is. Many of us set a vision at the start of the year. Some of you may have joined me in November of 2022 to set your vision for this year. If you're listening in, actually, I'd invite you right now to pause the recording and to go grab that vision. and to actually read through it again to see what has manifested itself and come true, as well as what's still in focus. And my guess is that this where do you want to be, this next focus is actually shifted from where you might have thought of a few months ago. So today we're not going to do work on this. This is really the work we do at the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. But if you're here live like Jose is, or you're listening in, it's an opportunity for us to just think quickly, what are those key priorities for ourselves as it relates to our vision? I'm going to just take us into this Draw Your Future frame, which is, again, it's something I co-create with my clients. What you see on the bottom left is one with an individual business owner, right? For them, they were really working on watching their business grow, but their future, their 5-year vision was to be financially free, to be accredited, to live in a certain country, to really be focusing on their family and causes that they were passionate about. The one on the left, or sorry, the right, the upper right, is another Draw Your Future that I did with a group. And you can see of that group of business owners, different focus areas. Their reality was about clients and creativity and learning and growth, but they also had some really exciting things on their horizon. Many of those business owners were looking forward to not only working with groups and teaching, but also really connecting in with their purpose, getting into some relaxation, having work that was more satisfying for them. So it's great to envision. And what I love about the Draw Your Future process, as you can see here, is that it also gets us to focus in on what is going to help us move from where we are now to where we want to be. And I think that is most entrepreneurs' biggest question. So I'd like to invite you right now, if you are listening asynchronously, to actually pause the recording and to review whatever vision you have captured for yourself, whether it is a video, some people do videos now, or whether it is a written vision, and to think about the steps that are going to help you move from today into tomorrow. I know a lot of the work that I do with entrepreneurial clients, if we look at the bold steps, we often look at, a mindset shift that needs to happen. And the mindset shift, as you can see on this one here, was about getting into action, just doing it. Many times we are our worst enemies in the entrepreneurial world, right? We sabotage ourselves. And sometimes we sabotage ourselves through inaction, or maybe too much action in things that are not really getting the impact. So I want to just have a minute of pause here. For Jose and I, it's an opportunity to think about one area, perhaps, where you are today and where you want to go by the end of the year, but to really think about what's a bold step that's going to help you move into it. So I'm going to set my timer for 75 seconds, because we always like to do something, something that you can leave with a tangible, hands-on something. I'm going to start the timer, and I'll invite you to grab a pen or a piece of paper. And in this next minute and 15 seconds, to really reconnect with one area of your vision and to think about what is going to help you move from here to future state and be a bold step. All right. Now, this by no means is long enough. If you are listening to the recording, feel free to keep going. But notice whatever showed up for you, right? Because part of entrepreneurial success is keeping that future state, our new desired reality in front of us. In a time of inflation, in a time of a lot of change, it can be easy to lose sight of that vision. So think about not only the mindset that you need, but the tactical steps, the tactical support that's going to help you move from where you are to where you want to be. Having worked with entrepreneurs now for more than 2 decades as a coach, I know that for a lot of us, we try to move the mountains overnight. And really, it is about these daily actions and consistent steps that move us from A to B. This is why one of the programs I introduced 5 years ago is called the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. And we meet on Fridays, every other Friday throughout the year for 26 calls. In fact, for those that might be interested, we're going to be opening up the attendance at the Coaching Biz Growth Lab again this summer. And maybe you join us for the last 6 months of the year. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the beauty of that program is we meet bi-weekly. So we see each other's progress in a small group format on a regular basis. And bi-weekly allows for enough time for action to get some traction in between calls. So with that segue of part of our work is mindset, part of it is tactical, I want to take us back to last year's 5-day challenge. And I want to zoom in for a few minutes just around getting you to think about building out some of your skills, but also your mindset. So in Coaching Business Builder on page 9, part of this includes a wheel. I'm not going to go into it, but if you join me for Coaching Biz Growth Lab or some of our sprint programs, we revisit this small wheel, this business, the wheel of small business mastery on a regular basis. And I'd invite you, we're not going to do it live on the call, but I'd invite you to grab your copy of Coaching Business Builder, which you can get in 2 places. If you don't have a copy, head on over to Amazon for a hard copy. But if you go to our Potentials Realized store, you'll also find a downloadable paid version where you can have a copy of this pretty much right away once you order online. It's a digital version. That digital version is not available on Amazon. Okay, so just a note, on Amazon, depending on where you are in the world, you'll get a physical copy of the workbook, which we know from Digital Impact, right? This was originally created as a analog handwritten guide because we retain things differently. But I know as the pandemic ensued, I then moved it to a digital guide available only through our Potentials Realized store. And people have appreciated that because they can then download this and revisit this wheel, for example, every month, every 3 months, or as frequently as they would like. I'm not going to say a lot about this today. Again, you can go back to last year's call on this, but there are so many different skill sets that we need as business owners, from managing the financial aspects of our work to the client load, doing administration and the ongoing marketing, not just the coaching and meeting with clients. So one of the big shifts we've made here at Potentials Realized in the last couple of years has been to grow out the team. It's been about 7 years now that I've been supported at least by 1 or 2 subcontractors, mostly in the administrative realm. But in this last 2 years, we now have team leads in 3 of our programmatic areas. And that's meant a lot. That's meant that I can double down and focus on more of the corporate work, focus in on actually some of the entrepreneurial work, and really being able to pay deep attention to helping coaches really grow sustainable businesses, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. So in our work at the Coaching Biz Growth Lab on Fridays, which means that's a bi-weekly program that meets Fridays, we have a lot of fun on a quarterly basis looking at this wheel, as well as really looking at some of the skills. So if any of you have a copy of my latest writing, which is Reconnecting Workspaces, you know how important so many of these skills are. The ability to build trust, connection, everyone being a coach, being able to navigate conflict and manage our emotions, manage our mindset even. So I brought this not to get us to assess this, although you can definitely, but to really get you thinking about what is the one skill that would be useful for you to be putting more attention around, especially over the next 2 to 3 months. And I'm going to invite us again to pick up our pens or pencils, and we'll take 75 seconds right now just to get you to identify one area for yourself that you would like to be paying more attention around. All right, timer has begun. You get to choose what that focus area is for yourself. If you're listening in asynchronously, continue as long as you would like. But again, invitation to think about what this skill development could look like. Now, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we don't always give ourselves a lot of time for learning. And when things slow down, we can over leverage our learning time. So I just want you to be aware of like, what is that right balance for you in your work right now? Chances are you have enough skills. If you are a seasoned business owner, you've probably gotten a lot, but do you have them in these sort of the humanistic skills, right? There's been so much change. And, I would say some of the skills that do not even make it to this yet are so important in 2023 is skills around AI and automation, right? What are you doing to harness the power of AI? And I know that's a pretty, can be a hot spot for many, but I think as business owners, if you haven't seen some of the great sort of like crowdsource sharing that goes on places like LinkedIn, sometimes Facebook, certainly I'm more connected in LinkedIn, there are AI tools that can do amazing things, not only around transcription. And, I've used services like Rev for 5 or more years where why would I wait for 3 weeks to get a, transcribed version when I can get it done very quickly in 5 minutes if I've led a call, led a lecture, done a keynote. And that's been invaluable. But now we can have AI doing things like creating music that's unique, right? Design, digital design elements. So as with anything, what is the future and what is the balance? But as business owners, especially as small business owners, small does not mean small, but just, leveraging our resources, it can be invaluable to think about how can we harness the power of AI to help us do more and be more visible. Because as small businesses, that is always a challenge. One of the areas I've had a lot of interest, I'm sharing this with you. This is some unpublished work, but it's coming out in the near future. I've been working on an entrepreneurial guide, and this is the 9-box model that we use. This, in fact, is what we coach around at the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. And over the course of 12 months, we dive deeply into everything from marketing and dialing in your message to who and what are the conversations you need to be having. Entrepreneurs, again, may be finding that in 2023, you're still looking at, boosting productivity, but also trying to renew, right? There's almost been like if you think of it, a rubber band, right? There's been a bit of a snapback with burnout for a lot of professionals. This has been a year where a lot of us, myself included, have felt more of the weight of these last few years. We always need to be planning and executing and growing our team or focusing on stakeholder relationships. Maybe your focus right now is on product and program design or the foundations of work, right? The foundations being those wheel foundations that we looked at. I am always surprised that a lot of business owners aren't necessarily well versed in the business acumen, but having data, knowing your data, knowing what it means to have a break-even point on products and services, making sure that you are tracking your cash flow. These are the things that are really important, especially in an environment where many economies are going into recession. And as an established business, right, I weathered the 08-09 economic downturn very well, in part, I think, because this business here at Potentials Realized has been very diversified. And what I've been noticing recently in 2023 is a very good thing, is the discourse around how do you ensure that you have multiple streams of business. 5 years ago, this wasn't looked upon as positively. A lot of gurus would say, oh, you've got to just double down in one thing. But the beauty of having multiple lines of business usually means, not always, but often means that as one element may dry up or sort of be fallow for a few months, and I think of my work as a team coach, right? It's quieter in the summer months, usually, not always. But, that's when book sales goes up. That's when, group programming for entrepreneurs actually peaks up. So think about what you have in offer. And one of the things we've been focusing on lately at the Coaching Biz Growth Lab is not only our marketing message, but our marketing and what we're discussing has to link in with what we're offering. And those product and program designs can be really, really powerful. So if you're interested, what I'd encourage you, because I've been talking a lot about Coaching Biz Growth Lab, head on over to groupcoachingessentials.ca, and then you can just do a /CGBL.html. So I'm sorry I don't have a QR code, but if you're interested, also just email me, Jennifer@potentialsrealized.com, and happy to set you up, because we meet bi-weekly on Fridays from 11:35 to 12:20 Eastern. And it is a little bit like what we're doing today, less heavy on the lecture, more on the work. And it's a small group, which means that we get to know each other. We get to know each other's businesses as well. And that can be a real push, so that when I say, you know what, by the time we meet next in 2 weeks, I'm going to have done X or Y. Having that accountability is really, really key. So no call would be of end without thinking about our carry forward. We're almost at the bottom of the hour, but I'm sure there is one action or insight that you've gleaned in this last 25 minutes plus. And I'd love for you to note that for yourself. What is the one thing you want to either take action on or capture insights around? And I know live, I've had Jose here. I'm so glad that you've been with us, Jose. If you are able to share with me in chat what your insight or action is out of today's call, pop that in chat. I would say, even when I lead calls like this, my insight is that it's important to keep revisiting things, right? With so many activities in the business world today, it is so important to be revisiting not only our vision, but our monthly plans, our quarterly plans. And this is where I do want to give a plug for Coaching Business Builder. We are coming up to the middle of the year. And part of the way I designed this, there are 3 sections. So I'm going to the back. If you have a copy, flip forward to your annual planning tools, right? It's a month of June. It's been about 6 months since you set your annual goals. Take a look at what your goals were. And that's found on page 131. You might also want to be capturing, because we don't remember this at the end of the year, capturing your goals and milestones, right? There's opportunity here to note down what you did in the quarter 1, quarter 2. Make sure you've got your goals as well listed in quarter 3 and quarter 4. I'm going to flip over. Actually, I'm going to leave Coaching Business Builder and head to Plan, Do, Track, because they're sibling guides. This year, as you can see, I'm working through, as a professional and a business owner myself, I am using Plan, Do, Track, which was Developed second after coaching Business Builder because my clients said, we want something. We want something. We're not a coach, but we want something to help us. And I'll use this just to show, for example, some of these pages that I'm making reference to, because it should be, and that's a strong should, right? But you want to make sure that you're using this. So in addition to the annual plans, we've got quarterly planning options here as well. And we're coming up in a few weeks. I'll be doing this with the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. We'll actually be doing our Q2 reflections. These were some of my Q1 reflections. But you know, a lot of coaches are like, oh, I just plan once a year, right? We need to take stock. These are some of the worksheets we use at the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. And this is invaluable. This is really an invaluable 20 minutes of work that we do. That's a guided process. And so that 20 minutes of work then fed in to my quarterly plan for the months of April, May, June, 2023. So it's great to make the plans, but we need to then review the plans. And that's where later this month, as part of the Coaching Biz Growth Lab, we'll be doing another quarterly planning worksheet. We'll be doing our reflections, and we'll be setting our goals for the next 3 months. So that's really my insight from today, how important it is. Even like today, we did a little bit of work for Jose Luis. It's about learning how to do prospecting and selling on LinkedIn. Absolutely. You know, marketing is key for any business owner. So what's the one channel you want to double down on? Is it LinkedIn or is other? And Jose is asking, may I ask you one quick question, please? Absolutely, Jose, pop it in chat. I would normally get him to do it verbally, but the mic isn't working. You know, so Jose, is it okay if I read this out so that people can hear it? Okay. So Jose writes, I've always worked for somebody else, so I don't have customers of my own. From a 10,000 meter viewpoint, what are the main steps to start getting prospects from zero, nobody, to paying clients? I love this. And again, you know, whether it's steps or not, I'm going to take us back to this whole 9 box, right? As coaches, I think it's important that we think about conversations, right? We can find that, you know, our outreach may be on a channel like LinkedIn, and then we start the conversation, whether the conversation is digital or the conversation is like spoken conversation. I always like to share one of the best things I did when I started my business 19 years ago was get out, right? Get out from behind the desk. So we are back in an environment where you can get out, whether getting out means going and doing a trade show, hosting a speaking event with an association. You know, I think as smaller business owners, the more we can link in with bigger events for visibility, the more powerful that is. Yes, social media is fantastic, and you're going to want to track where your business and your revenue is actually coming from. So you might find that it is a blend of in-person and virtual in today's world. And so going back to conversations, but having a plan around conversations, right? I would, you know, as a business coach, I'm always very strategic in saying, what are the 5 to 10 conversations you want to have this week, right? 5 to 10 conversations sounds like a lot, but that's only one a day. A conversation could be reaching out to, you know, someone you haven't talked to. I had a conversation, a great email chain with someone I haven't talked to in a year. I couldn't believe it's been a year, but it's been a busy year. And so we've set up a 15-minute virtual call. And what's nice is we work in similar areas, but different areas. And so there's always an opportunity for cross-pollination. If you're starting out, you might say, but wait, I don't even know that. Like, I don't know where to start. And that was me 19 years ago, because I started this business, Potentials Realized, 7 days after returning back to Canada. I had not lived or worked in this country for almost 15 years. And, you know, my years in Central and South America and the Caribbean was in the early years of the internet, right? We didn't have all the digital tools. So in 2004, when I came back to Canada, I really had to build from scratch. And that's where my comment earlier about getting out was so important. So some of the early connections I started creating were by doing trade shows, actually connecting with other coaches. And we would have a booth at trade shows. Trade shows are back, conferences are back. And I have to say, as a younger coach, some of the excellent clients I got in my first year were from just offering at these conferences. We'd have a booth, right? So imagine a trade show. People would come by and we'd offer them a complimentary wheel of life. We just do a quick conversation using a wheel, similar to what you saw on Coaching Business Builder, but just have a conversation around where were people in different areas of their work, their life, depending on the type of conference. And out of that, I started building my list, right? It starts at a couple dozen, then you go to a couple hundred, then you go to a couple of thousand. But growth is ongoing, whether we've been in business for 19 weeks or 19 years. It's important that we're always out there having those conversations to replenish. And so one of the channels, one of the reasons why I continue to do these calls is to also have a conversation. I know so many of you are seeing this asynchronously now, but I love the emails that I get back. So send me an email. Let me know what you're up to. Jennifer@potentialsrealized.com. I hope, Jose Luis, that's given you a couple of ideas. Again, getting out there, maybe doing some work, networking even with associations locally, so that you can also grow your network, because I think local networks are also really important. And that links us back then to marketing. What are we communicating about? Programming. What are we offering? So part of why Coaching Biz Growth Lab is all year is because we spend time working on different elements. We spent the last 6 weeks really dialing into our message, but people are also working still on what is their offering? Is it just one-on-one coaching? Is it group coaching? Is it team coaching? Is it consulting services? The beauty of coaches is we can be doing a lot of different things. So I want to thank you for being here. Thank you, Jose Luis. It was good to have you here. Hope you'll come back. We have a couple more calls scheduled for the month of June. I should have written these down, but let me just say it will be posted in our weekly newsletters. So you can always sign up for our weekly newsletter if you head on over to groupcoachingessentials.ca, groupcoachingessentials.ca. And as you navigate there, there's going to be a little pop-up window that comes that says, would you like to sign up for a newsletter? So please sign up if you'd like that. Typically every Sunday or Monday, I send out an email for coaches, and that email has upcoming programs and information. So maybe you'll join me for the last half of this year in the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. For those that are interested, I'll be doing a 6-month special. Typically, we have people come in January, but you'll be able to join us in June. And actually, our next call, today is June the 6th. Our next call is in 10 days on June the 16th. 2023. So I would love to invite you, join us for a month for $250 US, or join us for the rest of the year for about $1,500. And you'll make that back, right? That's sounds like a lot as a younger business perhaps, but you will make that money back in several hours of coaching, or through maybe a virtual keynote presentation. Again, here to support you. So with that, hope you'll be back in a couple of weeks. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. And I'll be posting this over at the Group Coaching YouTube channel as well. All right, Jose Luis, take care. Ciao. Bye-bye.